Welcome, welcome, welcome. Being guided to jump on today to speak into the timeline jump that's occurred and the new timeline that has transitioned through the tipping point energetically and created a new trajectory forward for the collective. The reason that these timelines shift and what you could have been experiencing for the previous energetic cycle will transition. So, I want to explain from an energetic standpoint what takes place. A timeline is being chosen by your conscious mind and your higher self. And what happens is these energies are moved forward, and then we have choice point moments. And so when these energetic frequencies show up in the quantum field, you have to consciously recognize and commit to what you're choosing. And these choice points often show up in an experience, an opportunity, a moment where you're intuitively guided. And you are intuitively guided into something that is more aligned with God Source Creator, which is more aligned with your highest timeline, your highest path. Now, over the last 24 hours, I have witnessed and watched many opportunities for individuals to be choosing their highest divinest timeline. Now, I only work with people or have people in my individual vortex when they are choosing their highest timeline. If they step too far from their highest timeline and so if we imagine the path, there's one timeline forward, and you can be stepping stepping on, off, doing a bit of a wibble, stepping back on, maybe doing a step, sidestepping, wobbling off. Maybe you step off and you're still here. And then you step back on and you're doing this sort of dance with your timeline. That will mean that you'll still continue to resonate with the information that I share, that there's a part of that that feels resonant and drawn to the information and the activations. And when you get pulled away from being in my space or my vortex, it may not mean that you're off your highest path, but it will mean that there is a different journey taking place. Now, if you're in my direct vortex, what I find is that when people decide to go off their highest path and learn through some level of trauma, pain, or choosing the harder initiation, which is often what happens, which is beautiful, right? We have a choice to go direct to the source or to go the way through all of the dimensional frequencies, the layers of consciousness to come into our source directive. Now, you can do it however you choose. Either way, you will learn the same information. You will have to integrate. You will still, you're required to meet all of the same lessons. You just do it in a different way. If you went straight to the source, you instantaneously receive those lessons, and then you have to ground it into your body. If you do it through a step-by-step process, you're activating, you're learning the lessons, you're integrating. You're activating, you're learning the lessons, you're integrating. So as this frequency opportunity shows up and we are in this point of choice, it's are we going to choose a higher timeline collectively? And so individually, we're all being offered these experiences, these opportunities, these learning points where it's like, are you choosing your highest path? And the highest path in a choice point moment, that's what it is. A choice point moment is choosing your highest path, your highest timeline. If we allow for ourselves to choose through a level of human logic and through a level of safety, security, what is rational often, because choice point moments are not rational to the human mind. Now, they're very rational to the cosmic consciousness, very rational to source directive. But if we are not listening to that higher lens of zoomed out interpretation of the greater picture, what we do is we choose safety and security, and we use logic and rationale from the human mind. And we often step off our path based on that because to the energetic presentation, we are required to use our faith and our trust and our surrender into what would be more of an aligned flow. And that means stepping out of our egoic control of strategizing and coming into a place of logistically planning. And this is rationalizing this, and this is rationalizing this. These choice point moments are not rational to the human mind. Now, so what has taken place in this last couple of the 24-hour period up until now has been this opportunity. And some of you may still be in this, so there's a delay point depending on where you are within your own expression. You may be basically riding the wave of the choices being made for you because you didn't make the choice. So you can consciously choose to make the choice, or if you don't consciously choose to make the choice becomes something that which you make by default, and your energy system realigns and recalibrates to have the lesson show up in your physicality. So if you haven't already consciously made the choice is being made for you. You will see this physical representation of this coming up into your experience, and the path forward will become clear through the trial and tribulations and the challenges of your experience. Now, because we are all connected, this affects every one of us. So, although we make an autonomous choice, we also make a collective choice. And so, in this timeline jump, we've actually jumped to a lower vibrational frequency timeline. Now, you may be feeling this. You may be feeling the density of this. You may be feeling the challenge of this within your energy field and the heaviness of this. So, what this means is that we've chosen a lower frequency to learn. We've chosen a lower frequency to evolve our consciousness. We've chosen more chaos, more contrast, more pain, more suffering than what we were previously choosing 24 hours ago. Now, this timeline that is present allows for one to choose through this challenge of heartbreak, hurt, or depression, anxiety. Now, there are multiple factors at play, because timelines can only be chosen by enough collective individuals allowing the toning, the subliminal programming, the influential messages, the information, the weather to affect them and their vibration to drop to that level. Okay, so the timeline is chosen by the frequency that you're resonating at. The timeline is chosen by the frequency that you've allowed to consume you. And this is why it's not about ascending or descending. It's about maintaining a frequency choice, a clarity. And if you drop too long during a choice point moment and you don't allow yourself to drop and then realign yourself into your highest truth, that frequency is your choice. You are choosing your frequency and your vibrational resonance. And so then this lower frequency timeline is where the majority of the human consciousness is sitting at the moment, and they're choosing that. And so the frequency that is being chosen at the moment is in relation to some themes. We have themes that we collectively cycle. We are on cycles of evolution and growth all the time, and we are moving through these in different dimensional planes of existence. This is where time collapses upon time on each other. And this is why different aspects of our consciousness we cannot see. So we can grow and evolve in our human lens for so long, but then we need to open and expand our consciousness so we see different planes of existence within ourselves, so we can see different versions of ourselves, so we can see different consciousness expressions of ourselves and different signatures of ourselves, so that we can become more holistic in ourselves to meet ourselves in these different representations and grow into a higher expression or evolution of ourselves. If we continue to choose the 3D expression and we don't continue to evolve and see beyond the 3D expression of mind, then we are stagnating our growth and we are choosing to learn through the contrast of our human experience. Now, that is the choice of growing through pain. That is the human choice. That is how most of humanity are doing it. And it is how it appears that we are continuing to do it, as we have just dropped into a lower frequency timeline. On this timeline, Beriata takarianai, mahashata kirianai, ata takarianai, mookoriate atiana. On this current timeline, we will give it a theme. And the theme of this current timeline is shame, shame of disrupt, dis, destruct, shame of destructive behavior and manipulation to get what I want. Now, we can see this in a negative lens, or we can see this in a positive lens, or we can see it in truth. That there is no right or wrong. And that when we are trying to get what we want, we are not only trying to get what we want from our human identity or ego needs, but also from our higher self. So our higher self will not allow us to go too far off the path before it creates experiences that will generate shame, to allow for that destructive, manipulative behavior to come up to the experience, to learn from and to choose a higher truth, a conscious choice that is not in the energetic expression of shame or of destructive patterning. But at this current present moment, we are collectively going, I will choose the destructive lens, the shame narrative, so that I can see my manipulation, so I can see what needs to be destroyed within my psyche and my experience, so I can deconstruct it as quickly as possible without going directly to the source, and choose a lens of the word solidarity wants to come through. And so solidarity would be the unified expression of a knowing. And this knowing cannot occur that you stick to until you have enough proof as to why you would choose it. So most people choose the ease and grace because they need to see enough, we'll say shame, destruction, and manipulation of their icky behaviors or their shadow self and go, that's not nice. That creates this in my experience when I'm manipulative and when I'm destructive. I lose people. They don't feel connection to me. They blame me. They project on me. And there may be a sense of control and dictatorship that comes up in relation to, I need to do X, Y, and Z so that I achieve this result. And then I can have this foundation, and then I will move towards this objective. That is the rational way of what would be considered to be a destructive way of deconstructing, and then recognizing that your higher self will only allow you to use these levels of consciousness and strategy for a certain period of time. After a certain period of time, these same frameworks will no longer work for you because you have evolved beyond them. That is evolution. You cannot continue to use the same frameworks. At a new level, they need to be reconstructed, brought in with a new level of consciousness and a new awareness to create a higher expression in an evolved frequency. And so these frameworks will start to crumble because they can't maintain any longer. And so the shame that is showing up is the shame that I have bypassed through my strategy, through my masculinity, through my control structures of my life experience. And then as my life crumbles and I've chosen it because I didn't want to trust and surrender into a higher path and let go of all of the safety nets that I have created within my experience, then I fall into the unworthiness, the aspects of myself that are not being met in love, the unhealthy manipulative behaviors that I've used to create this framework and keep it intact, and the falsity of the illusion. So the fantasy. The fantasy has to be seen, and you cannot see the fantasy until you break away the frameworks of the fantasy matrix and the false light representation of what you've created that's kept you safe, successful, and in a dynamic or a relationship that is keeping you in some form of security. So as we move through this on the internal level, what you will see is this has to manifest on the external. And so the fantasy illusion of our reality is about to crumble. It is going to crumble in ways that is showing you the manipulation, the destruction, and the levels of shame that are going to surface in relation to the information that comes up in this external expression. Now, shame is a challenging energy signature to sit in and to feel. Shame is one that most of us tend to bypass and disconnect from so that we don't have to sit in the ownership of our choices. Shame is what you would consider the opposite lens of the narcissist. The narcissist does not want to feel shame because shame and moving through the shame means taking ownership and accountability for behavior. Ownership and accountability for behavior means looking at your manipulation, your destruction, your control, and the aspects of your framework that use people, use yourself, and create false realities to get what you desire. So, in assistance of moving through this reality shift, what would be beneficial for you is to look at where you are avoiding your shame, where you are avoiding sitting in the discomfort of shame, and why you have used manipulation or destructive behaviors to destroy your identities so that you can create a way of receiving your needs. What if you chose in this moment instead of allowing this timeline to play out, because you don't have to play this timeline? These timelines are collective timelines that are chosen through unconsciousness, not through conscious choice. If we were consciously choosing, we would not be choosing these timelines. So if your unconscious is choosing the timeline that we're collectively on, and this is not the timeline that you desire, then how can you consciously release yourself from the collective timeline of shame, manipulation, destruction to get your needs met and to get what you want? And if you look at what you want, what do you truly want and desire? What do you truly want and desire in this moment that if you allowed yourself to see it, that you could choose it consciously? And what would be required? What would you have to let go of? What identities would you have to release? What unhealthy behaviors would you have to transform? What choices would you have to make that would allow you to get your needs and wants met in alignment with truth? Because in that there is empowerment. You have the ability to empower yourself, to grow, and to allow yourself the recognition that you are creating your reality. No one outside of you is. Every single feeling, every single illness, every single relationship breakdown, every single time that your children are affecting your reality, you're doing that. No one else. You create your reality, and if you're not living in a state of ease, joy, and bliss, love and connection, success, power, expansion, that is on you. So, what is required for you to see and take accountability for and ownership of if you are not enjoying your reality? That's uncomfortable, but that's empowerment. That's uncomfortable. That is truth. Do you want to continue to say that you're a conscious being looking for sovereignty and spiritual enlightenment and be completely disempowered? be completely entrapped by your own consciousness? Or are you going to sit in the truth? Because we can continue this path of evolution, which is inevitable. Okay. Evolution does not mean that we are going to have a golden planet with beauty, union, and new foundational, conscious, fifth dimensional human beings. Evolution means that the planet will shift and change because the current way of being is not sustainable anymore. Are we going to continue to lower our vibration and self-destruct? Because that is a possibility. That is the uncomfortable truth of how important you are as a creator being that has come here to assist planet Earth. The creator being that you are means that you need to take ownership for why you came here and why you're listening to this transmission. And if you haven't been choosing in alignment to that, then feel the shame because you're running out of time. Time is the only inevitable truth in this reality that it will run out. And you won't have an opportunity anymore to do the things that you didn't want to look at and that you created a story within your mind that you were not good enough for, or because you simply avoided because you didn't want to be in the discomfort of the truth. These messages are not here to be of love and light. That's not why I came here. They are to awaken you into seeing reality and truth for what it is, beyond polarization, into neutrality, and learning to be in the discomfort and choose source. I love you. But I am tired as well because I can't do it alone. And the ones that are really choosing their highest path cannot keep doing it alone. And that I will go down with the ship as well. Because I am a part of the whole. And we all affect each other. It's up to us. It's up to you. Because you and me are no different. We are not separate. Barianda takariania atea shotokoriania kiariani. No oshotokoria setekeriana tea 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 nai. Bo okoria tea tea ni. Be eshete kiariana atataya kiariana. No okoriandianaya. Doko shotokori de ekeriandi. Daya seria tea tea tiani. Ne esheteke, ne esheteke, ne eshetekerianai.